Thank you for choosing the Caleffi Z1 Motorized Zone Valve. This brief installation tips video will help give you a general overview of what you need to know to get started installing your Z1 Motorized Zone Valve. But the first thing that you should notice when you open the box is a set of instructions. You're going to want to make sure to read those. They will contain a lot of important information that might not be covered in this video. So let's get started with the actuators. The actuators can be purchased separately for repairs, or they might come paired with a valve already in the box for you. These actuators are a 2-position spring return actuator that comes in some pretty standard voltages from 24 volts to 277 volts. We offer normally closed and normally open actuators. When we refer to the word normal, we mean the valve's position when there's no power applied to the actuator. When no power is applied to a normally closed actuator, that actuator will hold the valve in the closed position. And when power is applied, the actuator motor will drive the valve open. And just the opposite of a normally closed actuator, when you do not apply power to a normally open actuator, it will hold the valve open. And when the power is applied to a normally open actuator, it will drive the valve closed. You can easily identify a normally closed actuator by the small manual override lever on the bottom of the actuator. This is not included on the normally open actuators, but is very handy in the installation and startup sequence of your system. You can take that manual override lever and actually push it right across, and it will catch right in the slide, and it will hold the valve open. This will allow you to get flow through your system when there is not power applied to the actuator. Once you do apply power to the actuator, it will automatically release that lever from the manual override position. All of the Z1 actuators have an easy push button release mechanism to remove the actuator from the valve body for easy service. On the normally closed actuators, you're going to want to make sure to push that manual override lever to the open position, and then you're going to use that push button to wiggle the actuator right off of the valve body itself. When you go to reinstall it, you're going to want to make sure that manual override lever is in the open position, and then you can put the actuator back on. Some of our Z1 actuators have an end switch built right in. This will be indicated by either 4 wires or 4 terminals on the actuator itself. They will be the 2 red wires on the wired models. An end switch is typically used to initiate a call for heating on a boiler, or turn on a circulator, or tell a building management system that a valve is open. The end switch on a 24 volt actuator has a maximum current rating of 0.4 amps. And the end switch on 120 volt and higher actuators have a maximum current rating of 5.0 amps. From there, the actuator will close that end switch when the valve is about 60% open. Models with the wire leads have a grommet to protect the wires as they exit the actuator body itself, but that grommet can be removed, and you can install a 1/2-inch conduit fitting if conduit is what you need to use. From there, the Z1 actuators are plenum rated and UL listed. They can be used anywhere in the United States and Canada. Just make sure to not use them outside, as they are not rated for outdoor use. The actuator, when paired with a valve, can be mounted in any orientation with the exception of upside down. In this case, the actuator is more prone to getting any condensation or moisture from the valve body into the actuator. In steam applications, the preferred orientation is going to be in a vertical orientation, but when mounting in a horizontal pipe, you're going to want to make sure to tilt the actuator and the valve to a 45-degree angle. This will help keep the actuator from overheating in steam applications. And now let's dive into our selection of valve bodies. The Z2 and Z3 valve bodies are available in NPT, sweat, flare, and press connections. If you are going to be sweating on one of our valve bodies, you're going to want to make sure to wrap it with a wet cloth to make sure to not overheat the valve body. And you're going to want to make sure to avoid over tightening it if it's an NPT connection. And if it's a press connection, you're going to want to make sure to remember to press it, otherwise it will leak. The Z2 model is a 2-way valve body. It can be used with a normally closed or a normally open actuator. It will have 1 inlet and 1 outlet with a direction of flow that you need to follow. You're going to want to make sure not to install it backwards. It will not work properly. The paddle that's inside the valve needs to close off against the flow that's going through the valve. The Z3 model is a 3-way zone valve body. Just remember that it will only work with a normally closed actuator. You'll notice that it has 3 piping connections on it, and can be piped in a couple of different patterns. It can be piped first in a mixing flow pattern, which is going to be 2 inlets and 1 outlet, or it can be piped in a diverting flow pattern, which is 1 inlet and then 2 outlets. Those piping patterns are described pretty thoroughly in the installation instructions, so make sure to take a look at those. And you're all set. If you have any further questions, make sure to contact your wholesaler, your rep, or us directly. And thanks for watching.